This is the Boom Bap Book Club, a music appreciation podcast. This episode, we talk about the hip-hop super duo Run the Jewels and their first album from 2013. It's a great one. Can't wait for y'all to listen. Enjoy.
Hey, all right. Welcome back, guys. What's up?
Hey.
It is the Boom Bap Book Club.
Book Club.
Book Club!
I think we need to. That should,
Think
we
we got
should.
some-
Yeah,
that
that's
shit
the
is
intro.
good.
Fuck all that. That was
Good.
perfect.
Nah, man, that was
No,
great.
that's the intro, man. That was good.
All
We just
those
need
words.
to put like a in the back.
yeah.
We're good, bro.
Mhm.
Solid. Okay. Hi,
What
guys.
up?
Welcome back. It's been so fucking long. Like, I think this episode is gonna come out soon after our Jay-Z episode, but I think, how long has it been?
I'm looking at the chart right now. 2 months.
All right. I
2
think
months.
we've
That's
done
not-
2 months before,
not
but between last record and this, I think one of our people got married, right? Or did we record Jay-Z before or after the wedding?
That was right before the wedding, I think. It was the weekend before.
Yeah, we've lived lives.
We've lived lives, man.
Yeah.
A whole. I've
I think
grown.
I think
I've
he's
shrunk
still.
a little.
I think he's still on his honeymoon, Nate. That's why he
Word?
ain't
Is
it? I don't know.
Yeah, our
No,
producer
they're on the
Nate
honeymoon world tour.
got married. But it's good to be back. If you're new to the show, welcome. We
If you're
are.
nude to the show.
If you're new to the show, put some
Welcome as
pants
well.
on. Put some
Or
pants
not.
on.
Or not.
Listen,
do
you
do
could
your thing.
watch or listen naked. Just don't tell anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Or tell people. What the fuck do I care? All right. Listen, this is a show. As you could tell by the title, it's a hip hop show. We discuss the music we love. We call it the Boom Bap Book Club because it's very much in the same structure as a book club would be, right? One of us picks the listening material. We all go our separate ways. We take it in, we experience it, and then we come back to discuss. And it's one of my favorite things in my life that I get to do. I get to talk to my two best friends about music, right? And
You know how it's different from a book club? If you're enjoying a book, you can't do other shit. You can't drive.
It's true.
Yeah. We like.
What about an audiobook?
This
Audiobook.
true. Okay. Yeah, that's one way to.
Wait. Let's take that back. You're right, Gary. Say it. I'm sorry. I just stepped all over your point.
No, but shit, man. Like you're right. I was wrong. I'm willing to step it back. You're
Well,
fucking right.
you can't read and drive.
No,
right?
you can't
Unless
read
you
and
have a Tesla.
Mm.
A buddy of ours has a Tesla, we know, and he took me. We were on a bachelor party. We went on a mountain road that was literally like this, like snaking like this. He took his hands off the wheel and the gas, and it just started driving up this snake mountain by itself. I swear to God, I never am getting in a Tesla again. Like, it was so fucking scary.
Wait, did it do well? Like, was
Did
it like?
so well. He started playing video games on his phone.
That's insane. That's
Like,
insane.
he's like, here, look at this. He like pointing. I'm like, bro, put your hands
My-
back on the fucking wheel. It
My
was
car could do half of
terrifying.
that. It can't steer by itself, but it can accelerate and brake by itself in cruise control. But so like it can do half of that. But yeah, like the steering, that's where it freaks me out. Like
He's
I want to at least
literally-
have some kind of control.
He's literally calling me right now. Madison, my wife calls him my other wife.
I mean, it's
Aw.
true. It's true. I seen it.
That's great.
I seen it.
She goes, "Oh, you talking to your other wife again?"
Speaking of wives, Ben, I hear there's a wedding story that you wanted to get into before we get into this
Oh,
episode. You know?
gosh.
Come on, we
All
gotta
right.
hear it.
So if you're, I don't know, if you're someone who gets offended by maybe saying
Stuff.
things that you shouldn't say, you could earmuff it right now. But I think it's pretty funny. We were at a wedding recently, it was a few months ago, and I haven't told you guys this, so I figured we'd tell it while recording ourselves talking. So it was one of the fanciest occasions I've ever been to. It was a very wealthy couple, and a degree of wealth that I don't think I will ever see. I can't relate to it, but it was a lot of people who are, I'm just going to say not as crass and weird as me. There's a very like they were very nice people, so this is not an insult to them at
Stuffy.
all. They were
Stuffy.
a little stuffy, and therefore someone like me with a fucking big mouth stuck out like a sore thumb. Anyway, we were at the rehearsal dinner. We were next to this really lovely couple, and I kept embarrassing myself, like saying things that I shouldn't say, and my wife was a little kind of like, all right, like tone it down, Ben, like it's not the time or the place. And then my wife is allergic to corn, and they brought out our vegan option, which thank God they had vegan options. We're both vegan, but it was just filled with corn, like pasta, just corn at every portion of the pasta. And I literally slammed on the table with my fist and I went, fuck my entire ass. And the whole table, literally everyone at the table looked at me like as if they let in some, streetwalker to the, to the occasion.
I mean, they did.
They
just realized it.
I turned beet red. My wife was mortified. Anyway, it's a good story. Fuck my entire ass.
Yeah. Did the videographer get that? Because that's a highlight.
No, there was no videographer at the rehearsal dinner. But it is forever seared into my wife's embarrassed mind.
Well, hold on. Well, you're looking at it the wrong way. Look at it this way. Now, every time they see you, they're going to know what's up.
They're gonna know, like, that's the guy.
That's the guy. And I hear my expectations. I no longer have these expectations for this guy. This guy is real, and I don't have to sort of beat around the bush. So I think this is positive. I think this is a positive. You ripped the Band-Aid off. Congratulations.
I wonder how many people that were sitting with you ended up, just like incorporating that into their vocabulary. They're just like the next day they're at work, they're in a meeting, and something bad happens. The KPIs they don't go in the right direction, and just yell, because like that's a powerful, that's better than like, this isn't what I ordered, like
listen, I want to be real for a minute, right? Like a self-analysis is an essential part of like growth and like making sure you're all right in this world and not getting punched in the face all the time. So like my self-analysis is, you shouldn't scream fuck my entire ass while pounding on a dinner table while you're at a fancy dinner. Like logically I know that, but it was like a force of nature. It was a guttural, like a thing that I had no say in the matter. It just, it just took over. And yeah, I wanted to talk to you guys about
those people are changed forever. It's like the guy in the bathroom at in a Fear and Loathing scene. From now on, from now on, that guy is gonna think everywhere in the world behind closed doors, men will be getting incredible kicks from licking each other's sweaters. You don't know that's not the fact, but now that he's witnessed it, or now these people have witnessed you, their lives are now changed forever.
Do you think I helped them?
I think you helped them.
Yeah, of course, dude. Yes, you helped them. You expanded their horizons.
And the possibilities, like what is possible, like what I think he just opened something up. I think he just opened something up. I'd love a follow up from all those people a year later. Like I just want to know, like what have you done differently? What have you said differently? How have you raised your kids differently ever since witnessing this? I'm very curious now.
This actually ties in nicely into the album.
Absolutely, that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up, Gary. It's a great transition. Our album today, and it was Gary's pick, and Gary, I think Dion, we should put like a round of applause, clapping sound, like in the background. Wait for it to end. Okay, Gary, I gotta say, man, this was like a hell of a fucking pick, right? I thought Dion, if anyone was gonna pick these guys at some point.
I had them on my list. They were on my list at some point.
I know this is one of Dion's absolute top favorite rap groups ever. I love them. I absolutely love them. And Gary, thank you for picking Run the Jewels, the first album. It is, there you go, D. There you go.
Yeah.
I think in transition, Gary, from, as you suggested, from what I said about my crass mouth, there's a lot of that talk and that verbiage on this album
And
of just
one song in particular more than others, but we'll get to
yes,
that.
but even on the other songs, you know,
Even
what
on
I
the other
mean?
songs. But to
Like,
be fair, even on that song, it's neither of the two artists that are in Run the Jewels that have that crass mouth. But again,
Right.
we'll get into that.
right,
It's a
but
great song too.
I think in
I know what you
particular
mean.
LP has a historical you know, like throughout his career he has an ability to say these crass uh like what's the word, like they hit like a bomb, right? Like these
Mm-hmm.
statements are like very impactful, but they're also very crass
Mm-hmm.
often, you know. I think at some point he mentioned, it was a while back, well, way before Run the Jewels, he had a line about crotchless lederhosen, and you know, I can't ever unsee that image in my mind about crotchless lederhosen. But yeah, such a fucking good group, right? And we'll get into it, but like such an unforeseen partnership.
Yeah.
Like if you told me, Gary, I know you're probably not overly familiar with LP's uh, origins, let's
I know
say.
so little about the history of this group. I know
Right.
absolutely shit, by the way.
Right. No.
If I could interject, Benny, I have never listened to a Run the Jewels album before this. I just, I've absorbed a lot of like Killer Mike content over the course of the last couple of years because he was campaigning alongside Bernie Sanders for a while, and I was like, you know, that was newsworthy, and he is a intellectual kind of speaker, right, and participates in a lot of like debates on stuff that I listen to on podcasts, right? Mm-hmm. He was on Bill Maher a couple of times, so like that was my exposure to Run the Jewels. It was through Killer Mike. Through like kind of the way he talks, but also like through like the weird business ventures that he gets into. Mm-hmm. So I thought just this guy is like kind of a hero.
That's a good way to put it.
He
is
a hero.
But I didn't know much about the music, and I was thrilled to actually experience it through this first kind of couple of listens.
And to be clear, Ben, I'm not sure if he, or forget if he did mention it, but this is the debut album for Run the Jewels, because all of their albums are just called Run the Jewels 1, 2, 3, 4. So
kinda
just
like
to be
Led
clear,
if they're following Led Zeppelin's footsteps, their next album can't have a number on it, but because they did Led Zeppelin up to 1, 2, 3, 4. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But yes, their debut album, I think it would serve, at least me, I don't know about anyone else, I like breaking down history before we get into where we're at.
Let's do it. I think between the three of us, Ben, you know the most of the history of both these artists, probably in particular LP.
Yeah, both. Honestly, like I'm a big fan of both. Let's start. I think we should start with LP. Okay, LP, aka El Producto, a fixture, a Goliath in the independent underground hip hop evolution, right? Like there was a time, and I've heard it referred to as like the second renaissance in hip hop, and that's, I would say, right. It started birthing right when the Jiggy era was popping off. So like when popular Hot 97 hip hop became all about glamour and shiny suits, Puff Daddy, you know, that like Mace. You know, Mace, it just, and like the general, even our favorite MCs started going this way of like rapping about how much money they have, and you know, it was the first,
like that whole
right. I would equate like a time in hip hop where hip hop went from rugged underground sounds mixed in with pop. There's always going to be pop, hip hop, even back in the day, right? Like there was always, you know, there was room for Bust a Move, you know, by Young MC.
Hip hop was semi-birthed from many different genres, but disco being one of them.
Of course, but like
I mean, yeah. So I'm agreeing with you. I think I think you're spot on.
There was a time, and let's say I think let's call it the golden age of hip hop, 91 to 95 ish.
Yeah.
Where yes, there were these pop songs that got great radio play, but like almost all of the most popular MCs were lyricists, were rugged, were original, were kind of not tainted by industry because the industry didn't know what to do with them yet, right? Because you didn't have record executives going, no, 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 this is the formula. No, they were creating the formula. Redman, Wu Tang, Mobb Deep, A Tribe Called Quest. I'm going, in and out of order. De La Soul. You had these artists that were, their art was the thing that then a record company said, okay, we'll market this, right?
This is before the algorithm.
Right. Before the algorithm, before cookie cutter. And I think the dawn of Jiggy era was the dawn of cookie cutter. Like, okay, here's what works. So let's keep doing that. Right. And say what you want. There's great music that came out 97, 98, 99, 2000. Popular,
Absolutely.
great music. But it was the beginning of the downfall of originality in hip hop. There's no debating that. And while originality was in decline in the popular mainstream hip hop, New York in particular had this movement of independent companies, independent record labels, putting on MCs who would never get radio play because they're rapping about shit that is not what mainstream wants to hear, right? But it was a renaissance. Like out of this renaissance, you got Black Star, Mos Def, Talib Kweli. You got MF Doom, right? He started in '97 on a independent label, Fondulum Records, with Babito, right? You had these little record companies putting out singles that you're only going to hear if your friend who's into this scene puts you on, or if you're already in the scene, right? Kind of like almost like trading fish bootlegs before the internet, right? Like if you get put on, you're like, oh shit, there's this whole world. I was lucky enough.
Nobody knows about that world but you, Ben.
No, that's not true. There's such a huge movement. You know what I mean? Like it was a real, like it was a movement to the point where Black Star rose up out of that and became huge, right? Like there are artists who rose up out of that scene and became huge, but
I think just to interrupt. I think Gary's more talking about your fish take than hip hop. Even though I still agree with you on that. But I think the audience of this probably more so.
No, dude, I take it back too. I'm sure there was a deep market for fish.
There is
recordings
listen,
at the time.
Say what you want about Fish, but they sell out everywhere they go around the whole country without one number one record, without one good selling album. So like literally, a lot of people fucking are down.
Dude, I have danced like a fool at many a Fish show.
Me too.
Respect.
Me too. I think I hit my 80th show this year. Anyway, that being said, I want to just get through this history. We might cut it down. But I was lucky enough to be put on to this whole other hip hop scene by we've shouted him out before. I got to shout him out again. Noah Zagor, my homie from the past. He was like an older head who was like, no. You gotta listen to these motherfuckers right here. And the eventually the stuff he fell in love with was Def Jux, right? LP's label that he put out one album with his first group, Company Flow, which was a big underground album on Rawkus Records, but they dissolved quickly, and he started this record label soon after in the early 2000s called Definitive Jux, Def Jux, which was it was like ground zero for like over the top lyricism, rhyme schemes that you'll never get on the radio. You know what I mean? Like not rhyming on the one here. You know what I mean? Like, like really complex rhyme schemes, really out there beats, like absolute zero interests in any type of commercial success, but a thorough hardcore underground following. Right. And there was success there. Anyway, LP, that's how I got introduced to him during the Def Jux era. And his style was so left field and so over the top complex, and it almost lacked the rhythmic continuity of rhyme schemes that we're familiar with. It was, he would rhyme on like he would take 13 beats before rhyming with the previous thing, but this one rhymed with that one, and it was like hard for my head to wrap around still to this day. So like I fell in love during that era with like Cannibal Ox and other crews and MCs in that zone. Anyway, LP was like kind of the father of true independent pure art rap. And he actually got quoted, and a quote that he often is known for is independent as fuck. I think something like that. We're independent as fuck, meaning like no record label support, like we're doing it ourselves. Anyway, LP stayed underground for a long time, right? Yeah, he grew and grew and grew as an underground artist, but he was never in the zeitgeist the way Run the Jewels is now. Run the Jewels is like it's a force, nationwide success, you know. Which brings us to Killer Mike, whose upbringing is very different. His come up was like with the Outcast crew, with the Dungeon family, the Atlanta come up of like with the greatest pedigree, right? Of like, you know, people to raise you, which is Outcast and the Goody Mob, right? And he was also underground, right? Killer Mike I think he was more well known than LP, but he was never Outcast. He was never as big as Goody Mob, but he was like, you know, an amazing MC. Both of them lyricists, both of them incredible, but neither of them found success the way they found success when they joined up. I think that it started with LP producing one of Killer Mike's solo records.
Yeah, what's it called? Rap? Was it Rap Shit? Is that what it's called?
I can't remember the name of the album, but it's very good. LP as a producer is incredible. His sounds they're the furthest thing from acoustic, right? You know how I love, you know, jazz rap that samples like acoustic bass and acoustic, you know, like instruments. I like hearing instruments sampled. I love the lush sound of that. That's not LP. LP is very mechanical and very digital. I don't know how else to put it. Like everything sounds like a science experiment. You know what I mean? Everything sounds like something you would hear in the future, which goes to prove that you don't need to be boom bap, right? You don't need to be that sound, that 90s jazz rap sound to be amazing. You can be so digital and mechanical, but there's art there. It's not like, again, I always rag on trap beats because I think they all sound the same, and they all have that like same drum pattern. Yeah, they all have that thing. They're so similar all the time.
I think it sounds dope, but it does. But you're right, it does. Like there's repetitiveness to it.
And I think this is proof that you don't have to be old school. This is new school as fuck, in my opinion. Right?
Very much so, yeah. But it's
so creative. It's so dope. The beats are so dope. Anyway, when LP and Killer Mike came out with Run the Jewels, I don't think anyone saw. I don't even think they knew how big they were going to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of like Czarface in that way. I don't think INS and Esoteric and 7L thought like, oh yeah, we're going to have a long, like decade long and plus career out of this one project that we're doing together. I think it was just like an experiment in the same way Run the Jewels was.
Did the first Czarface album come out the same year as first?
Same year.
2013, right?
2013.
2013, yeah.
How incredible!
Yeah, but at the time these guys are getting together, though, they're like seasoned musicians, right? Like this album came out 2013, 2014?
2013.
Yeah. So they're like, they know what the fuck they're about. I think that this album was such a pro album. It didn't feel like the first album of people just like, yeah, let's see what's up. Like, I think they really had a lot of intention behind their work together, in that like they kind of knew that they're going to keep working together. You know how I know that? The album is 10 tracks long, or at least the original one is 10 tracks long.
10 tracks. So it's not even a 50-minute album. It's
I love a good short listen. I really do. I like something you could put on, experience, and then move on. Like, right? Like we talked about mid 90s, it was like like late 90s, there's like the fucking double album era.
Double album, 24 tracks.
You can't get through one of those. Like
13
it's gonna take you days.
Like, yeah.
You know, so I love an album that you could just like, it's concise but it's jam packed, right? Oh,
it's a really well made like sushi roll, this album. And like I think it's like it shows discipline, right? And like knowledge that like more work is coming soon. That's why you make a 10 track album, because you know that you've got something here, and you've got more in the bottle, and you're just gonna keep making work. Like, when was the next time that they released an album? They released a bunch of albums since then.
They've been I think there's four albums, a lot of like, singles also in between, or like, like features, but there's 4 albums, so it's been every few years,
basically average out to every 2 years, probably every two and a half years, something like that.
Yeah, and
that's so pro.
They give themselves room to have their own solo stuff still, and their own projects, but they keep coming back. And Gary, I agree with you, there was an intention behind those 10 tracks, and I think like something to be said about 10 songs, but let's make every second of them count. You know what I mean? Like quality over quantity. And one thing I really want to get into, and then Dion, I want to turn it over to you, because you are the Run the Jewels head in this crew, right? Like, you've seen them live several times, you just saw them live, we should get into that, and we'll break down the album more. But I want to just say my analysis is LP and Killer Mike brought out qualities in each other that weren't necessarily there on previous projects, right, which I love. I feel the same way about Czarface. I'm going to mention 3 groups, and they all just happen to be a black guy and a white guy. But I'm just saying, Czarface, Bad Meets Evil, and Run the Jewels, they all kind of have these very defined artists that bring out different qualities in each other, and their rapping kind of morphs when they're rapping next to each other, right? So with Run the Jewels, LP is at his least wild. I don't know if you've got if you go listen to his older stuff, LP's rhyme schemes are almost too hard to digest for me. I know he's an incredible talent. This is no diss on LP. Please don't take it the wrong way. But some of his music was so scattered, and some of his rhyme schemes were so not on beat that it was hard for me to like vibe with, right? But LP on Run the Jewels projects is more in rhythm, and I think that's to bring his vibrations to the vibrations that Killer Mike has, which is more of a rhythmic, bouncy, complex, but inspired by the funk that Outkast and Goody Mob are inspired by, and that Atlanta sound, right? I think LP reduces his out of controlness and tames it, and it's still complex. These bars are incredible on this album. He's so fucking good on this album, but so is Killer Mike, and they're such a perfect match for each other. I love a group, right? Not a collection of MCs, a fucking group. And these guys are in the same vein as Tip and Fife, right? In the same vein as Paz and Dave from De La, right? Yeah. They're completely different styles that work so well in tandem with each other, and they bounce back and forth. And I love that they trade back and forth. That is a lost thing in hip hop. Even with there's all these features. Everyone has features, but it's you record your verse, I'll record my verse, slap them together. No, these guys are bouncing
it's
off
clear
of each
that
other.
they're in the same room for every single minute, every second of this. Like, it's painfully clear that
very clear that this is a collaboration, not like a here's LP's beat, all right, yeah, Killer Mike, you go record this. No, this is 2 minds working, right? It's like 1 brain, 2 hands almost, you know what I mean? Like, and I love that shit. Love it. I want to turn it over to you. I know we didn't, you've been the quiet one so far, but that being said, you are the Run the Jewels head. You just saw them live. I want you to just take some time, talk to us. Like, what is it about this group that makes them one of your goats?
Yeah, it's everything we just said. It's like it starts with the art, right? It starts with the skill. It starts with the rap and the beats, right? You're not gonna be on my favorite list unless you got lyrics and you got beats, right? So right out the gate, like they excel at both, right? But it's also just like it's also timing too. There's a lot of things that have to do with why I and a lot of other people are fans of this group. They came out in 2013 together, right? At that time, I'm sure it's still recent memory. That was when, like, you know, like, look, we all know, like, for many, many, many years, decades, centuries, this country has had a lot of racial tension. Still does. It's been accelerated. Like,
This country? Really?
this country? In this country?
This country has racism?
Gambling in this establishment?
Yeah.
But
like, just want to say, like, I wore this shirt for a reason today. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, because they bumped that movement hard. So
of course.
I back it hard. Go ahead.
But at the time of their formation, like that, like in 2013, I feel like where we are now, like how fucked up we are today, like it started around that time, and like the fact that year, 2013, we saw this like Brooklyn-born white MC grouped together with this like very much Atlanta Southern black MC, both of who had their careers before, and came together in just like almost perfect harmony. Not to sound like cheesy or anything, but that had a lot to do with it. Just seeing like the togetherness, and they're also not rapping about bullshit. They're like keeping it funky about what they're rapping about: politics, police brutality, things along those lines. At the same time, they're also rapping about some silly shit too. Like, I mean, like it's well known that like these guys like their psychedelics. There's songs about that here, like, and that's been part of the process. So all of that together, I'm like, wow, these guys are fantastic. Prior to Run the Jewels, I can't say I was the biggest fan of either. Not saying I didn't like either. Like, I've listened, like, Ben, you put me on a Company Flow. I honestly don't know that I've ever actually listened to a full Company Flow album without, like, you know, outside of, like, you putting it on, like, when we're driving in the car, or, like, you know, us chilling in your backyard or whatever. And then same thing with Killer Mike. I mean, what's the song? The Whole World. Remember that song? The Whole World, the Outkast song from 2001. I think that was the first time I heard Killer Mike, and he was fucking dope on it. Dope.
And he was on Speaker Box too, right?
I believe that was that on Speaker. No, that song was a different album. But yeah, he was on Speaker Box. He was on Speaker or The Love Below. No, probably Speaker Box. Speaker Box. Yeah. Yeah, I think part of it also, especially with Killer Mike, I think it was part of my New York bias, right? Of not really fucking with many Southern rappers at the time. Aside from Outkast, like, there weren't that many Southern rappers we were fucking with because, like, you know, we're from New York. It's like, nah, get out of here with that shit. Like, I like New York rappers. Like, fuck this. So I think it's partially why I didn't really give Killer Mike as much of a chance. Again, and I want to make it clear, I never thought that like you know, he wasn't worthy, or LP, same thing. I never thought that they were like these guys are trash. Like, never thought that. I just happen to have never really gotten into their music individually. But once they came together, like from the get go, from the first track, from the first like 5 seconds of the first song, you get it. You're like, oh shit. Mm-hmm. Oh shit! I'm about to get into something. I haven't heard something like this in a long time. Mm-hmm. I think these guys, you know, it'll be part of my closing statements too. But this is, to me, I think, one of the greatest debut albums in hip hop history. Ever. I don't think there's a question of that.
Music history.
Music history, yeah. Like, I mean, it's, again, save some for my closing thoughts, but. Mm-hmm. And yeah, then the other thing about their albums, which I don't even think I really realized, but you realize all their albums are released for free?
No, I didn't know that.
Including this one. Like, they're on Spotify. You can buy the CDs, you do what they want, but they also release them on their websites for free.
Yeah. I remember
which is dope. It just goes to show, it's like, look, yeah, these guys they're professionals, they're musicians, they want their money, right? But they also know that they are a group for the people, and like that's a big part of it.
I think it's a symbolic gesture for the most part, but I think that's fucking cool.
Yeah. On that note, I don't know if you're aware of this, Gary, but like LP was high as fuck one day on social media, and he literally said, yeah, the album's free, but if enough people buy it, and I'm not sure if these are the exact details of the story, but something along those lines, if enough people buy this record, I will remix the whole album with just cat sounds and call it Meow the Jewels.
It's incredible.
And he literally kept his word. He's like, oh, I guess I got to keep my high ass word. And he literally remixed the whole first album with cat noises, and it's called Meow the Jewels, and it's on Spotify.
great.
You could literally listen to Meow the
Not only
Jewels.
is it on
So-
Spotify, but go Gary.
This was a Kickstarter. A part of a series of deluxe releases, and one of the stretch ones was Meow the Jewels, and I guess they hit that goal. It's
Fucking
excellent.
great.
That
If you
is
look
just
on,
good.
if you look at like on Wikipedia, for example, and see like their discography, it actually says they have 5 albums. Meow the Jewels is considered an actual Run the Jewels release. I think it came out in between 2 and 3, but it is a remix of this first album. It's the first Run the Jewels album.
Oh, dude, this is look at the track listing. Oh my darling, don't meow.
Yep.
Paul Fluffer Night.
Oh, I've listened to Meow the
Life.
Jewels multiple times. It's
All right. Well, I'm going to be listening to Meow the Jewels for the rest of the week
Yep.
and probably my life. That's great. Thank you, guys.
yes, you will. Yes, you will.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible fun fact about them, and it speaks to their. You gotta love it, and I know I keep bringing up Czarface, which is interesting because LP and Esoteric had this beef back in the day where they were.
Did they really?
Yeah. They were going at each other all the time, but that's been squashed, so let me not even go there. But it's funny, I keep bringing up Czarface, but they have a similar vibration in that they're for the fans. They take care of the fans, right? There's no, to me, there's no. It's not a coincidence which groups rise up out of the independent movement. It's not a coincidence to me that Czarface and Run the Jewels have these cult followings, right? They are for the fans. They put out products that are fan forward, not money forward, and therefore, right, when they're not sacrificing the art for the audience, right?
Yeah, but also their art is really fucking good for the audience, right? Like that's
what I mean,
big piece of-
right? It's fan
meaning like
art.
it's actually like
Yeah.
it could be, you can make fan forward art and it could be shit. You can make fan forward art and you could be really good.
Yeah, and it's no coincidence that these two really fucking good groups have so much success, right? And they make it interesting. They keep throwing curveballs at us. They keep, finding new angles to get their art out, and I love that. Fucking love that. Yeah. Hell yeah.
But yeah, no, to close things out, for like my initial thoughts, like again, like when it came out, I remember thinking like what I just said, like something along the lines of, oh shit, maybe hip hop ain't quite dead yet. Like maybe there's some hope for new artists. And again, there's not many new artists that came out in the last 20 years that I've like attached myself to, and I include like groups like this too. Again, Kayla Mike and LP are certainly not new artists at all. But Run the Jewels is. But it's a new group, exactly. So yeah, man. I try to see them every time they come to town. I just saw a few weeks ago as of this recording, Rage Against the Machine at Madison Square Garden, which had Run the Jewels as an opening act. I briefly chatted with you about this. Like it was. I love Run the Jewels. I love them live. My only, and this we can talk about this with the show I went to. My only critique with that show has nothing to do with it wasn't their fault. I think they went on a little too early, because I think Run the Jewels is very much an energy driven group, especially live. Again, I've seen that was like my 4th time I think seeing them live, and energy is the first word. It's like, and especially it's funny too, because like the two MCs are both kind of like, dare I say, slightly to regular overweight. So you wouldn't, like, you look at these two, you're not, like, the first thing you think of is like, oh, these guys will be bouncing all over the stage. And they don't necessarily run up and down the stage for all the songs, but like,
it's physical.
Yeah, exactly. But like, just mental and lyrically and like content wise, yeah, like, it's just pure energy. And funny enough, at that show, they opened, and the show was supposed to start 8 p.m. They came on right at 8 p.m. Crowd was still sort of filing in. Yeah, but like the what it did though is that it didn't, like, I feel like the crowd didn't really get into it until like sort of like the end of their set. By the end of the set, it was fucking great, and then like they set the stage great for Rage and everything. So my one critique with that show was just like, I think they just went a little too early. I think they should have had another opening act, but that's neither here nor there. They were so fantastic. They're great. Their set was amazing. It had the giant fist and the gun. They had like a prop piece that was above the stage. So yeah, so that's it. That's kind of my general take and thoughts of Run the Jewels and how like why I love them. Basically, it's like they're no bullshit. I agree with almost all the subject matter, especially the political stuff. It's right up my alley. And these guys, they're just a fun listen. So yeah, again, Gary, thank you for picking this. If you didn't pick us this week, one of their albums would have been picked by me or Ben one of these other weeks. So I'm glad we're about to get into this.
This was a strong open, man. You're right. Like something to be said about that strong open to the first. It's like the opening of a novel, right? Like so every time you open up a book. Especially if you haven't read something by that same author right before, it's like you have to get like acclimated to it. It's like even if it's really well written, it's like shit. I have to like change the way that my mind absorbs these words to like get into the groove of however this person's writing. If I could, it's going to happen within the first track, right? The first track is really important, and their first track on this album made such an impact, man. It just as soon as you hear it, you're right. You know you're in for a treat, right? You're in for an audio fucking experience. In the same way that you get from listening to, say, an Outkast album. I also get this from, I get this from. I mean, a lot of the musicians that we listen to kind of have that like all like kind of engrossing experience and pulls you in. This is definitely one of those albums, and you get that from the very first track. It sets the tone for like sit your ass down, enjoy.
I mean, even the first 4 bars on that first track, which is called "Run the Jewels," it's really funny if you like listen to Spotify or anything like that. It's like "Run the Jewels" by Run the Jewels on the album "Run the Jewels." It's fucking great. But the first 4 bars. It goes, oh dear, what the fuck have we here? These motherfuckers all thorns, no rose. E-gas with a bad dream, better not sleep. Take a no dose, do some blow. Like, all right. Hold on. Let's slow down for a second, or not slow down.
No.
Keep
and that's
going.
the whole
Please,
album.
keep going.
The whole album
that's
just
the entire album
punches you in the face with shit like that. And
I said I have my nose kicked in the chest. You say punch in the face. Yeah. So,
no, it's one of those. And Gary, you're to your point and to Dion's point. Opening, right? Like me and my brother actually talk about this a lot. First song, first album, right? There's a certain thing to be said about the first song on your first album. Right? It's like a thing we talk about. Sometimes it's not there, but like most of our favorite artists have a first song, first album where you're just like, ah. I think perhaps no greater first song, first album is "Bring the Ruckus."
I was just about to say,
by Wu-Tang. Like I don't know if there's a bigger kick in the chest than "Bring the Ruckus." But that being said, and I know I brought up Led Zeppelin once already, but if you listen to the first song on Led Zeppelin's first album, you are being kicked in the chest and tickled in the taint. It is just it's called
I was gonna say, I don't know a ton about Led Zeppelin, so I may not know the song. But what is that, sir?
Good Times, Bad Times.
Oh, that's their first song on their first album.
Gary, I don't know if you know the song. Put it on after the show.
Great song. Great.
Good Times, song. Bad Times by Led Zeppelin, and it is like another one of those like what?
That is a fantastic fucking song. I didn't know that was their intro to the world.
But that being said, Run the Jewels. This song is on par with Bring the Ruckus and Good Times, Bad Times. And I'm not exaggerating. It is like, oh, fuck. Right? Like that's how I felt when I first heard it. Like, oh, fuck. Like something new is about to happen. That's a rare occurrence with music, right? It's very rare that you put something on. It's like, oh my God, I'm about to hear something that has not existed until this moment. And that's what Run the Jewels is. It really is such a forward thinking.
So right, Ben.
Sound, right? Never been done before this.
Yeah, it's also great for testing your headphones. If you got some fancy headphones, this went some tracks went on my test your fancy headphones playlist.
Gary, what were in terms of that? What were your top 2 or 3 favorite tracks from this, just for the headphones thing?
I think "Job Well Done" was just another kick in the chest, and "Do Dope, Fuck Hope." It sounds really good.
Fuck Hope.
And that first track, right? The intro track was another one that was a treat for the ears.
I think track 2 might be my favorite track on the album.
But yeah,
what track is that?
Banana Clipper.
Banana Clipper.
It's one that has Big Boy at the
end. Because I think.
Yeah, let's get into the tracks.
Let's break down that track. Yeah. We broke down the first track. The second track, Banana Clipper. You know me, right? What are my things? Lyricism, beats, flow. flow patterns. The flow patterns on this song, each one of those three motherfuckers. I love awkward pockets. I fucking love awkward pockets that are in rhythm. You can't get to me, like I always go into it, right? Funk, like the idea of funk is not exactly landing in the meticulous, like da 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 da. Funk is da 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 da. You know, like the just the
playing with the beat and
playing with
your
the but being in rhythm. And man, Mike, especially on this track, just
that his speaking of intros, his first few bars, I move with the elegance of an African elephant. I presented the evidence, eloquent as the president. Like, yeah, what the fuck? It's just like, it's fantastic.
Yo,
fantastic.
and that's the whole. Okay, I know. I'm sure to certain people who are into the music that I often say I don't like, it sucks to hear, or like they want whatever. I don't give a shit. When you listen to the modern flow, is behind the beat. You know, like that. Again, we've gone over it. That is the thing now, right? All of the popular new MCs are behind the beat with this staggered thing that they do. But what they happen to do is the same thing that last motherfucker happened to do. And it just, there's like 5 flow patterns. There's 5 flow patterns. And they are being done. And I'm going to name names. By Drake. By fucking, I don't even, I'll mention Drake because he's like considered by many to be one of the GOATs. He's just doing the same fucking flow patterns as everyone else. That shit grinds my gears. I just don't want to hear it. Like, all right, I've heard that thing that you guys are doing so many fucking times. Like, do something else, please.
Yeah, but have you heard it like this? Have you heard it today?
But what I'm saying is that opening bar by Dion is a staggered behind the beat flow, but it's nothing like that one pattern that everyone's doing. It is completely unique to Killer Mike and this song, which that's the whole thing, right? I have no issue with changing shit up, but change it up and be you. Don't be a carbon copy of the last guy. These guys are the basic, they're the exact antithesis to carbon copy, right? They are fucking unicorns.
Yeah.
That's well put. Yeah.
Anyway,
I also another thing in that song, it's unique too because we've talked about other albums where the MC like has lines to shout out the producer or the DJ. In this case, LP is both. He's both an MC and a producer of this. But there's a nice like 2-bar line from Killer Mike. Producer gave me a beat and said it's a beat of the year. I said LP didn't do it to get the fuck out of here. I'm like that's like a sweet moment.
That's good. It's good old school shit.
I was like, oh. They love each other. It's cool.
They're like best friends, apparently, right?
They are.
Wasn't Killer Mike LP's best man or vice versa?
I believe he was at the best. He's either the best man at the wedding or he was one of the people that gave a speech at the wedding. I think because he was the best man. But I happened to work with someone who was a photographer at that wedding and said that the Killer Mike speech was incredible, and like by the end of it there wasn't dry eye in the house. Like these two have like serious love for each other, and it's great.
I just want to say, Dion, I watched the video of your best man speech at my wedding, and I cry every single time. When you say when a man of Guyanese descent says the word beshert,
I think I said it right too, right?
You said it right, man. You melted my Jewish heart. Thank you for that. Their love was
my pleasure.
beshert.
My pleasure. I think Big Boy's verse should have been a little longer. It's my only. If I had to break something down, I think
short, yeah.
I think he was just getting into it because I have Big Boy in my top 50.
Hell yeah,
he's fucking dope.
I think Big Boy gets the short end of the stick in the Outkast. When people talk about the amazingness of MCing and Outkast, oftentimes they're talking about Andre
Which
because
is completely warranted.
it's valid. It's valid.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Andre is goat level. But Big Boy is fucking incredible. He's an incredible lyricist.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah. Gary,
Um,
what songs really jumped out at you that you're like, holy fuck, like what am I listening to? Like, what were the songs? Like, I'm glad you love this thing so much.
Yeah, man. Can I before getting into the song, I wanted to just comment on something you guys were going back and forth about.
Please.
I was trying to figure out, kind of related to what you guys were talking to, the like what's the analogy for like this partnership they have, right? Because they're two experienced musicians coming from, you know, careers from different places in the country, different roots in music, right? Different upbringing, all that. You know, but they're like the vibe I get is kind of like KRS-One and D Nice, you know, back in you know, like back in that kind of original tight vibe where they kind of, especially when, you know, pointing out like how they shout each other out, right? That's a very old school thing. That's pretty cool. You have to be a student of hip hop to do something like that, and it's kind of a throwback. And the other one that came to mind is Al Pacino and John Cazale.
Cazale, yeah. Is it Cazale or Cazale?
I don't know.
Yeah.
The guy who played Fredo. Right?
Oh no, yeah. There's.
Okay.
By the way, we'll this is separate. This is going off on a tangent, but do you guys know about John Cazale? Like his whole deal with his career and his life. Just real quick.
Very
really
little.
Quick. So
I know he had an untimely death.
John Cazale was in 5 movies in his career. All 5 movies were nominated for Oscars. I believe 2 of them won. I think he was nominated a few times. He was also married to Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep is his widow. And then he had an untimely death after, I think sometime after, either after Dog Day or after Godfather 2. But like, it's almost like it is. I'm gonna make a comparison. It's gonna sound egregious, but not really. But it's almost like Chris Tucker's career.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Biggie Smalls.
No, I was gonna just in terms of movies, like you know, Chris Tucker, like at one point was like the highest grossing actor I think in Hollywood because he didn't do that many movies, but the movies he did were all like huge
Rush
movies.
Hour.
Yeah, the Rush Hour movies. Yeah, exactly. Money Talks. But yeah, no. So again, I know I'm going off on a tangent, but look up John Cazale. I mean, it was a tragic end to his career, but yeah, he literally only did 5 movies, and all 5 of the movies he did are considered the 5 of the greatest movies of all time. it's very interesting. Yeah, if you haven't seen the movies, like Deer Hunter, great. Dog Day Afternoon, great. God. Godfather 1 and 2,
right,
great.
Exactly. So, like, the reason why I bring that one comes to mind,
let's
is
bring it back.
because you know, John Cazale was one of the few people that could hold the screen, kind of hold the viewer's attention on the screen at the same time as Al Pacino, who was like amazing at kind of grabbing your attention and being an outstanding performer. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's not a like. With
you don't come to Las Vegas and talk to a man like Mo Green like that.
Yeah, man. Exactly. Anyway, songs that I really that I loved on this.
Yeah.
I mean, DDFH, like I mentioned before, it sounds great, but also just it's I think one of the deeper songs on this album. I had to look up some of the kind of like I had to look it up on Genius and kind of understand some of the origin behind it. So there's from reading from there, right? It's they have a quote from the 4th episode of Trigger Warning, which is a show that Killer Mike. I keep calling him Killer Mike. What's yeah? Well, he had a show on Netflix. I don't know if it was Trigger Warning, but Michael's Santiago
Mike
Rende,
Rende,
right?
Mike
Rende.
Rende.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is from a show that he had there. He said he had a friend from childhood named Sleepy, and Sleepy taught him that it's better to enjoy life on Earth than hold out for heaven. So fuck hope, do dope was the words that his buddy said to him. But I think that's this philosophy is clearly like not necessarily like focused on the drug use part of it, but like this way of going about your life is like a well articulated way to think about life, of just like, you know, not thinking about social constructs and just living in a principled way that's correctly sized to about 80 years of existence and done nothing, right? Like I would be very curious to hear Mike
expand.
expand on like his views on religion, on organized religion and spirituality, because like the way that he lives is very much this DDFH song, and he carries that with him. And I think that's a really difficult way to live, and you have to have a real mental shift to actually pull that off. But I think he does, and he talks about it well in this song.
He also expanded on that, Gary, because I read that too. He also did an interview at the Breakfast Club when he was asked about that, those lyrics, do dope fuck hope, like, hey, what does that mean? Are you trying to like say something? Are you trying to like not be a role model of the kids or whatever? And he's like, no. He said, this is the exact quote. He said, it's satire. Satire is what Mark Twain did. You guys look him up. Do dope fuck hope is what medicine companies are telling you every day. Don't work out. Don't get healthy. Don't eat better. Just take a pill. Don't de-stress. Don't do yoga. Just take a pill. Like, basically, it's almost like twofold. Like, Gary, I think what he's saying, but what his friend Sleepy said is sort of separate or different, and this is like another take. Both are right. Both
right. His friend Sleepy was telling him like almost like a nihilistic point of view of like nothing matters, right? Nothing matters. Do whatever you want. Exactly. Yeah. Which is different than what's for the kids.
Well, I'm gonna like,
but yes, both.
My take on that, Gary and Dion, is it's like kind of a little of both. Right. So like, I think the message of, that like that whole live for right now, not what happens after. I think that is spirituality. Right. I think like people who exist in fear of what might occur after they die and therefore alter their behaviors for that are living in fear. And that there's nothing spiritual about that. I think spirituality is where, keeping your head where your feet are and making sure that what you're doing right now counts. You know what I mean? Living in the moment. And that's kind of where that's at least how I heard it. Enjoy this. This is, if someone important to me once said, if you have your head in, fearing tomorrow and regretting yesterday, you're pissing all over today. You know what I mean? Like, so,
that's dope.
Whatever. But I also think the Do Dope Fuck Hope was complete satire, kind of like saying like, oh yeah, like this is what America and pop culture is telling you, like literally like get fucked up, like take these chemicals, eat McDonald's. Like I literally like that's how I feel about it. You know what I mean? Just like that's satire of what everyone's being told right now.
Gary, you know what this reminded me of that you'd appreciate every time I hear that chorus? The Mr. T Saturday TV Funhouse sketch. Where it was like,
which one?
don't do milk. Stay in drugs and drink your school. Right?
That's right. Yeah, get 8 hours of drugs.
Stay in drugs. Yeah, that was it. Stay in drugs. Don't do milk. Like I forget what it was, but it was like, every time I hear that, like it reminds me of that for some reason.
I think it ended with get 8 hours of drugs, which I really I pissed my pants.
Oh man, that was such a good time for Saturday Night Live. I can't watch the new Saturday Night Live. I find it so unfunny.
There's some funny moments. It
depends. I think Weekend Update is incredible. I think
Weekend Update
they might be after Norm Macdonald the best Weekend Updaters, but like I find so much of it.
Colin Jost and Michael Che are pretty fucking good too. Yeah, no. they actually are pretty fucking good.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying they're the second best.
Ever,
in my opinion, for Weekend Update. But I find a lot of the skits to be really cringy right now. Like not that funny at all. I don't know. That's just me.
By the way, if you talk to anyone that has done or does improv or anything, they will murder you for calling them skits. They are sketches. Just FYI.
Let them fucking come. Let them murder me for some silly shit like that.
I'm protecting myself, bro. You do what the fuck you want. I'm calling it a sketch. Anyway, yeah, that's all I got.
Hey, listen, are there some other songs we really want to break down? Are the things that like because we could get lost in the sauce. I could tell you what my mom told me about the podcast recently if you want, but are there any other like songs that are really impacted you while we're talking?
Yeah, I mean for me, I love the song 36 Inch Chain. It's one of my favorites on the album.
Yep.
Also it contains a reference to something I've never heard anyone outside of our friend group reference this, but there's a line that I didn't say who it was, but it goes, I smoke ganja with a dreadlock rasta, move like Frank, you die like a hassa. Like I've never heard anyone else reference the hassa line from Scarface like we do.
Missed that entirely. That's great.
Right?
Such a great Scarface. I remember hearing that going like, I'm going to use the word esoteric, not talking about the MC, but like esoteric Scarface reference. Like,
Yeah.
so like
Yeah,
something
like
you would
somebody
have to
had
see
the
that
subtitles
movie.
on, watching that. Like they were watching it with the subtitles, as we
Grow
do.
up and die.
Yeah,
Guys,
they
can we
picked
agree
up
on
the transcript off the street in Times Square off of
Yep.
some vendor.
I wanna put this out there right now. I know we are a hip hop music podcast primarily, but I think we need to do a special episode about Scarface. I think we all need to go and watch Scarface again and just do a show about Scarface. Can we agree on that coming up?
I think we could start reciting Scarface now, and with a 98% accuracy, finish the entire movie 3 hours later.
Probably.
So we don't even have to watch it, but we should at least once more. We should all wait. Can we set a
Any
date? Can we
excuse to watch
can we
Scarface.
all chill? I know we all live in very different parts of New York, but can we watch Scarface soon?
Yeah, we had it on for your bachelor party, if you remember, a couple of years ago.
I remember.
And you eat it outside. Hell yeah, any excuse to watch Scarface. You kidding me?
Let's get together soon, all right, guys?
Yeah, Isaac's almost old enough to watch Scarface now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost. Give him a
Well,
couple
I think
months.
he's at the age now where you could put it on and he won't know the difference. Shit. My father played The Exorcist for me when I was like 6.
That's educational material, though.
I
Teach
was
you not to be a fuckhead.
scarred forever.
Yeah, that's right. Don't be a fuckhead, or else Exorcist.
Can I tell you what my mom said about the podcast recently?
Mm.
Go for it.
This is like such a my mom thing, right? So I was talking to her a few days ago, and I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna record again. I know we took a bit of a break." She's like, "Oh, that's so good. I'm so happy that you guys, still doing this. It just means so much to me. You guys are great." I go, "Oh yeah, like, have you listened?" She goes, "Well, I
better this way.
don't know." She goes, "I tried, but I don't know what you guys are talking about. So I just she like got, when my mom gets like frazzled, she goes,
I know exactly.
I was like, Mom, it's okay. When we do a Rolling Stones album, I'll make you listen.
We love you, Hillary.
Yes, we do.
So my question to you is: do your parents A, know that you work on a podcast, and B, have they listened? Dion, you first.
I think yes and no. Yes, they know. I've given them the link many times. I don't think they've listened to a single second yet.
Gary, do they even know?
No.
Oh shit!
I love this.
That's amazing.
Are you going to tell them? And will do you see a world where within the next year they listen to at least one episode?
No. I can't see a way for it to matter to them at all. Like not even a little. They're just not gonna. I mean, if like they would be happy to know that like you, like the three of us are doing, and like how would I even describe it? They're like, we get together and we do this thing. So you guys have like a hobby, like yeah, kind of like it's a thing that people do. Like, oh, do you make money? No. So like you guys just
we
chill.
actually pay for this.
You chill and like yeah, we chill. Okay, yeah, all right. So I chill with Ben and Dion.
I don't know. What about the esoteric interview when we interviewed esoteric? You don't think they'd be like, "Oh wow, like someone you guys interviewed someone who's kind of famous."
Yeah,
you don't think they would care?
totally. Yeah, we could say like we like had a discussion, like a radio show discussion with a famous musician. I think they would be I think they would be psyched.
They would like
the
idea.
They would
of it,
never
but they
listen
wouldn't
to it though. No.
My mom got about 2 minutes into the esoteric episode.
It's like I'm done.
She's like,
all right, I'm out.
I
SpongeBob meme.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. It's a good Hillary Lander. Is that a good Hillary Lander? What do you think?
That's perfect.
Okay, good. All right.
A little over the top, but you're.
I feel like I'm spot on.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's kind of your mom. So like I think
That's
that's
pretty over the top. Yeah.
One more thing from 36 and Change. It's actually one of the few like little facts that I had. Do you remember that line where I also think it's LP. Yeah, it's gotta be LP because it's a New York based line. He goes, "Try to say grace, get a face full of staples. Woke up and the city air smell like maple. If you come straight from New York, you relate." Do you? So
Nope.
First of all, this is apparently a thing. I don't honestly remember this. I guess since 2005. New York citizens have wondered why the city sometimes smelled like maple syrup. This was solved in 2009 when then Mayor Bloomberg announced the source to be fragrances and food additives used in a factory in New Jersey. If you live, and then it goes on to say, if you lived in New York, this line would bring back the smell. So LP has successfully pulled you into his verse.
Is that like
Do you guys remember
Manhattan thing? Because I've never woken up to the smell of maple.
Yeah, me neither. I guess it must be a Manhattan thing. But isn't that fucking crazy?
I remember there were only 3 smells that I could associate with being in New York, and one of them.
Can I guess them?
They all come from similar sources.
Sorry, you go ahead.
No, please guess. Please guess.
Weed, hot garbage, and farts. Was I right about any of them?
So hot garbage.
I was gonna say piss. Piss is one. Piss is definitely one.
No.
Weed is more recently. I feel like weed, like now that it's legal, you smell it a lot more walking down the street than you did, like, you know, even 2 years ago. So I wouldn't have that on my list. I would say weed. I would say hot garbage.
Piss.
No, sorry, I'm sorry. Piss, hot garbage, and piss. Just those two, and piss again. That's what it is. It's piss, hot garbage, and piss again. Those are my 3. Gary, what are the actual answer?
I guess there's just like piss is so widespread. It's everywhere.
Yes,
it's
it is.
where I am now, right? And weed is everywhere now as well. So for me, it's hot garbage, right? Just so you're walking, you just smell fresh air, and then like hot garbage, right? Just like you just walk from 0 hot garbage into 100% hot garbage.
Kicks
smell,
you in the chest,
right?
Like
and
first,
it's just like
the first Run the Jewels song.
It's like in a force field. Yes, it kicks you in the chest, and then you walk out of it, and it's clear. And then you look back, like you expect to see it, but no. So that's one. And the second one, unfortunately, is smelling electrical parts burning after the Twin Towers fell. That was like,
oh, we all remember that shit.
Yeah, just remember the smell of that in the air. It's just like,
that shit was
this is
week long. That was crazy.
This is like when you're burning computer parts. This is what it smells like. This is it. And the other one is, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but on the BQE, okay, when the Belt Parkway connects into the BQE, there's like what used to be a bunch of factories and shit on the water side, but now it's like cool apartments and whatever. But there was like a Fun Dip fucking factory. There's like a candy factory that apparently like Red Hook bees migrated to because they wanted to get like the source of like sugar syrup. Yeah, so they would like go to this like waterfront area, and they would come back, and they were like red, and they would produce like red syrup instead of honey. But there was like a Fun Dip factory. If you drive by it with your windows open on the
don't remember.
BQE,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
When you mentioned BQE and passing into the belt, I think of literally the shit factory, the feces processing plant that smells at all times.
Like
it's near there. It's near there. Yeah,
I got one in my neighborhood too. It's fucking rough.
What are the smells for you guys? So like there was pee. I heard a lot of pee.
So I think pee, shit factory, and hot garbage is New York to me. Now that I think about it, yeah.
Damn.
No good smells. I'll add weed to the list now.
But wherever you go, it smells like weed now.
Yeah, it's like if anyone's been to LA in the last like 8 years or so, that's pretty much what LA smells like, and now it's coming.
Yo, but again, Killer Mike ahead of this shit, man. So job well done. Tell me if you smell the marijuana hanging off my breath, blowing smoke, and I'm coughing like I'm damn near death. Like that's part of how he paints his character. I mean, this was back in 2013, 2014 time,
well
right?
Before the legalization.
Yeah, well, like it's just being a badass and just knowing that, hey, this is part of my life. I'm loud and proud, right? As they say. Besides that, let's see. He says about himself, "I'm fat and I dress nice, and bitches finesse Mike."
Is that on that same track? Is that a job well done too?
I don't know. I connect those two in my mind. That's a cool. That's a badass dude. That's a painting of a badass dude.
Yeah, he's incredible. He's an incredible lyricist.
How about the way he ends his verse on Job Well Done? I mean, that whole verse hits so fucking hard.
Hit it.
But the way it ends, it goes, say woo, they done me like that fucking mic out. It's like Tyson in the 80s, nigga snap and punch your lights out. Yeah, it's like Tyson in the 90s. If I'm losing, take a bite out. I'm some motherfucking grimy, some motherfucking gritty. Mama said she couldn't breastfeed because I was biting at the titty. That's so fucking hard. That's
Strong.
so hard.
Strong.
Yeah, man.
Oh, I love it. And shout out to Trackstar with all the scratches at the end, by the way. Trackstar, I believe, was a DJ. I think he's their touring DJ, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I think so.
Let's try to examine. Right, we keep saying it's special, it's different, it's impactful. I want to break it down to the elements. Like, right, what are the elements that make it so impactful? There's attitude, right? They have a certainty about their amazingness, right? Like the things that they say, they believe, or at least it comes off that way, right?
It's righteousness.
There's a righteous attitude about their crassness, right? Like some people, right? I think about Eminem, right? I think Eminem is incredible. Don't get me wrong, right? I think he's an incredible, talented, incredible lyricist. But I think like if you break down his best records, which I think are his first two, the Slim Shady LP. I know there was one before that, but let's talk about like the ones that everyone knows. So like Slim Shady LP, Marshall Mathers LP, right? Yeah. Those things that he was saying, it's almost as if that his motivation was to create a stir, right? That shock element. I want to say something, and even though I might not really believe these things, I'm gonna say them to get a rise out of people. I don't think that's what we're hearing on Run the Jewels, right? I think Run the Jewels, like, this is us, this is our attitude, fucking deal with it. Like, that's kind of, it's a different thing, right? Can we agree on that? Like the Eminem thing?
I think they kind of do it in a deliberate way that's like it's righteousness, right? It's like This is the appropriate level of emphasis given the situation in the universe right now.
right. Yeah, special. So there's the attitude, and I think I'm gonna say it again. It's the flow. I think and definitely it's the beats. Don't get me wrong. The sound that LP creates it's
incredible.
The soundscapes are, like I said, it's almost like if you close your eyes, I feel like you're in like a Tron movie or something. Like it's just like dark, but then neon, and then you know what I mean. Like it's just like
Sea Legs is a great example of that. The beat on Sea Legs is very spacey. It's like a movie score basically. But I agree.
But I think it's the flows that make. I think my favorite element is their unique, complex lyrical flow. Right, their flow schemes are top notch, best in the game. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, I can name MCs on par with that, right? But like, you're not. This is as good as it gets, in my opinion, for like just creative, new, out of the pocket but in rhythm flows. I fucking love that shit, man. It's to me, it's the essence of interesting hip hop, right? Yeah.
I think that's definitely part of it. The combination of that with the beats, their unique delivery. They don't, you know what it is? They don't cheap out. Where I feel like a lot of other MCs, popular, not popular, whatever, like they may have a 15 track album and like you fuck with 7 or 8 of them. A few others, like, all right, they kind of mail that in, whatever. But like these guys did not, from start to finish. Like you could tell they put their all into this.
Yep, 100% of themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So I think just piggyback when you say, I think that's what it is. Like I found myself asking myself that as I was listening to this. Like, what is it about Run the Jewels? Like, what are the things I could pinpoint? That's like why I love these guys, and the fact that I was having a hard time figuring it out. I think it's just because it's the complete package. Like they just have everything. What it's almost like it's like what don't they do well, right? Like
and can you name a group that currently or previously sounds anything like them?
Outkast.
Oh no.
You think Outkast sounds like Run the Jewels?
Yes.
Huh.
I don't think they sound like them, like bootleg. I think it's definitely in the same pocket. You know, that you get the same kind of you get sucked in the same. Well, look, as a lay person that has not had a lot of exposure to Atlanta hip hop besides Outkast, it definitely feels like Atlanta hip hop.
Okay. I was gonna my take on it is I think they created a sound. I think like they're one of those artists that came along and literally presented a sound that I've never heard before. It's just my take on it. I'm like, I've never heard anything like this ever, and not even since. I haven't heard a rap act since sound like them, which is
that's why they've lasted. That's why they've lasted so long.
Yeah, it's very rare that a new sound comes along that no one can even copy. They're like uncopyable, kind of like Doom in that. Although you hear kind of people this day and age, like you hear Earl Sweatshirt, you hear MCs who are like clearly influenced by Doom, I've never heard an artist like where I'm like, oh, they're doing the Run the Jewels thing.
No,
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
They also, this is much more specific. I'm not sure if it's the same category, but there's they do something on the song "No Come Down" that I don't think I've heard very often in hip hop. They break the fourth wall, or Killer Mike does. You notice that? There's a part in "No Come Down" where he goes, and later on in the song, "Yeah, I'm a boner, but that ain't the point, bro. Please follow along, bro." He's telling a story, but before he gets into the story, he literally is telling the audience like, "Yo, later on in this song, we're gonna get to something. Like, yes, we're gonna have sex, me and this, but hear how we get there."
Point. Right.
Yeah, exactly. But like just the fact that
Follow
he
along,
broke
bro.
the fourth wall. Yeah, it's great. Do you guys have any other examples you could think of breaking the fourth wall in hip hop? I mean, look, it happens, I'm sure, but like I couldn't think of any other examples, at least not done as well as this.
I mean,
sure-
like Jay-Z, you know, like by dumbing down his lyrics, doubling his dollars, right? Like by talking about the industry.
Good
Anytime
call.
that rappers talk about the industry at all, it's like, I am in the business of creating music for you to hear in your headphones. It's breaking down the fourth wall. It happens quite a bit.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking, Gary, you're right. But what I'm talking about is like literally like he's like stepping out of his
Story.
verse. Yeah, he's stepping out of the story to tell you, hey, look, in this song, he literally says, and later on in this song, I'm a boner. Like I'm good. Like he's literally breaking through the fourth wall. And it's like, hey, you're listening to this, but like later on in this verse, I'm about to do something. All right, cool. Let's get back to it.
I think one I could think of off the top is Tabernacle by Royce 5'9". Like he tells this story about like a true story about his like the most important day of his life, and then in between each verse he's kind of narrating, saying, well, this happened, and then this is like, you know, I promise I'm not lying about that. You know what I mean? Like he kind of like
That was from The Alchemist, right? Not Alchemist. The
Layers.
that was some Layers. Oh.
Yeah, great song.
Because I know that song. I know Tabernacle. Tabernacle's a great fucking song.
Yeah.
I just haven't heard it in a while. But
Yeah.
okay, yeah. But I thought that was dope. And which brings me to another thing I was gonna say is another thing that what makes them so good. Like I mean, look, all hip hop is poetry at the end of the day. But like to me, like this is like you could print out a lot of these lyrics from any of their songs and put it on a poster and like have it be like an inspirational poem if you wanted to. And you know, reading their lyrics, I think is a slightly different experience than listening to, or listening and reading is slightly different from just listening, because when you listen to it, you also get lost in the actual music and the production of it. And you know, it's which is great. I'm just want to make clear that's not a bad thing at all. But like, you know, when I do my deep dive in the lyrics, I'm like, you know, it's like rewind rap, but like rewind reading almost. It's like, oh shit, that's what he meant. Okay, yeah, let me look into that. I'm not talking about the genius annotations or any of that bullshit. I'm literally talking like, what are the words in front of me? What, like, how do I break this down? Oh, that is fucking genius how he did that. Oh, I see how he did that. Oh, he linked this here. He like it's
It's like Pharoah Monch level.
It's on some Pharoah Monch shit.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, I think we've really broke it down. I think we should get to last licks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go first.
All right, go ahead.
Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, I thought that. So I think you guys have both said this during our conversation already, but I was nodding my head and thinking, fucking exactly. I thought we had reached the end. This is what I love about this project that we're doing. There's always more, and I'm like, I find myself disappointed. Like, I'm a film buff. I feel like, fuck, I've watched every good sci-fi movie, like every good contemporary sci-fi movie. If I want to watch something new, then I have to like find something that's like super old and boring to watch. Like that's really genius.
Hey, old movies don't necessarily mean boring, man.
I know.
Come
Look,
on,
I'm talking about a.
You ever see Doctor Strangelove? That shit's in black and white, and that shit is funny as hell.
That was amazing. That was very funny, and it like made for modern attention span somehow. But like, I'm a regular jackass, and I'm not a sophisticated person in this regard. But here, there's something new that like it was new to me. It gave me like a lot of good feelings and hope about the fact that we continue to make good music as a species, and there's a lot more. There's like, if we keep doing this project for another year, 2 years, I doubt we're going to run out of great music. We're always going to be delighted, I think. And when we're not, then we could find
Start
our way
talking
out.
about exercise videos.
Exactly.
should break down
Right, and start breaking down Scarface and stuff.
That's coming
Anyway.
soon, I guarantee you.
Yeah, Scarface is hip hop, but anyway, that's the thing that occurred to me after having a listen for this album. Like, there's more. Thank goodness.
I'll give my last place, Gary, but I'll start by it's actually something I want to ask you at the beginning of us recording this. You said that you hadn't before picking this. You weren't really that familiar with Run the Jewels in general. When did you actually discover Run the Jewels? Like, when was actually the first time you sat down and listened to this first album? I'm just curious.
After that episode that we did. In fact, when I think the last time we were recording and I picked this album for us to listen to, you asked like, hey, which Run the Jewels album? I had no idea that they're all called Run the Jewels. I'm like, shit, I guess the first one. You thought I was joking. I just wanted to get into like the quintessential Run the Jewels work because I don't know shit.
So listening for this episode was actually like your kind of first time sitting down listening to the first Run the Jewels album.
Yeah, as an album straight through. I mean, I've heard like their standout songs before.
That's incredible. That's great. That's so organic. I love that.
Yeah, man. Me too.
So my final thoughts. I kind of hit on all these things already, but I said it already. I think it's one of the greatest debut. I have my notes hip hop albums of all time. Ben, I think you hit it earlier. Music, like just debut albums for any kind of musician or musical group. I think is one of the greatest. It's I said this already. It's one of the rare new acts in the last 20 years that have seriously impressed me. It's kind of a perfect album. And their next 3 albums, well, 4 if you count Me Out the Jewels, haven't disappointed either. Usually a lot of times when someone has like, a first thing, whether it's an album or a movie or whatever an artist is doing, there tends to be some downhill, at least maybe the sophomore. Yeah, exactly, the sophomore slump, and that may mean that the third album may come back to form or something like that. These guys, if anything, they get better. In many ways, and this is not to sound disparaging at all. This first album, I don't necessarily think this, but I could see how people would think this. This might be their worst album, which is incredible because this album is so fucking good. But they hone their skills and they get. I feel like they just get better and better. Like I said, I've seen it multiple times live. I will continue to do so. And I think ultimately, last thing I'll say about it is like, I think, I've touched on this before. Like, why do I like them? Like, why do I love them? I think what it comes down to is like, even with the relative heavy subject matter, which they don't always do, because again, like the song, No Come Down is like it's all about drugs. Like it's not like it's all about psychedelics and everything. So not all of their songs have to do with this political strife and everything. But even with songs with that heavy subject matter, they're still generally fun. It's an enjoyable listen. And partially it's because of the personality of both of them too. Like their personalities come out in the rap. So I think that's probably why I kind of had a hard time figuring out like, why do I love these guys? Like, why do I actually love this music? And I think it's just because like everything with them, just like Gary's listen, like having this being like his first time like sort of deep diving, and like he had this organic love for it, and it turns out like could have gone the other way. He could have picked it, never really heard it, and then comes to this recording. It's like, hey guys, you know what? Didn't really like it. Here's why. Which would have made for a great conversation too, but like organically, like I think just the natural nature, I guess, of how the album was put together and how like who these guys are, I think just makes for just an enjoyable listen. And again, the remaining albums that they have, like my favorite Run the Jewels song is from the next album, or one of my favorites, Close Your Eyes and Count to Fuck. Ooh. Fucking love that song. Love that song. That first verse is just like out of control. That's it. One of my favorites. These guys continue to be one of my favorite groups. I get excited and giddy every time they have any kind of new release, and I'll continue to do so. Run the Jewels. That's it.
Yo, Now the Jewels is on Spotify, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. Have fun with that.
Yeah.
Ben, what you got?
All right. So it was sometime in the mid 2000s when my friend Jason introduced me to Vietnamese sandwiches, banh mi. And at that moment, I remember taking a bite into this. I'm vegan now, but I could still fantasize about it, right? It was this fresh loaf of kind of toasted bun with this ground up pork and this other piece of pork and then these pickled carrots.
Was it Hanko's?
And it was. And there was pickled carrots and other pickled material with mayonnaise and then sriracha and hot spicy jalapeno peppers. And I remember taking my first bite of banh mi and thinking, I have never tasted anything like this in my life. It was almost psychedelic. It was this moment of of expansion. And it was one of the most impactful, and I mean this is pathetic, but is one of the most impactful moments of my life. I could remember sitting there with Jason eating this thing, my mind quite literally blowing up. Like, what the fuck is this thing that I've never even knew anything could taste like this? The mix of the pickled vegetables with the seasoned pork and the mayonnaise, everything just so exploding in my mouth. It was an amazing, and I think that Run the Jewels is the banh mi of hip hop. Like it's this thing that I didn't know I could hear until I heard it, right? And I love experiences like that. It's not the first time I had an experience like that. Certainly not the last time I had an experience like that. I think one of the wow, my hair is fucked up right now. One of the beauties of music is that there's always going to be creative people, right? There's always going to be someone who approaches music in a way that we never thought was possible, right? There's always going to be a Kool Keith, a Frank Zappa, a Run the Jewels, a Tribe Called Quest. There's always going to be that next thing in that next genre of music, as long as your ears are open and your blinders are off to be exposed to it. And I'm just, this is one of those moments where it was a banh mi moment for me. Never knew anything could sound like it. Never knew anything could make me feel the way this album makes me feel. It was a completely new experience. And you can't say that about a lot of music, some of the music I love is just a really good version of the music I love. Some of the music I love is this new experience that has never happened before it. And I'm very grateful to musicians and artists like Run the Jewels for just keeping expanding, right? We got to expand. We got to grow.
Keep each other on our toes. Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. I love this album.
Isn't that wild? Music style, right? Music genres, they've evolved as quickly as technology evolved. And that's one of that's like such a human thing. Right? Like it evolves so quickly in the course of history. It's so different. Like in our lifetime, how much does it evolve? In 1 year, how much does it evolve? Shit. Right. Like it's a treat. I actually am optimistic about, in the future having this same experience, Benny, the banh mi sandwich experience again and again, because I think we're going to run into stuff that will surprise each of us, even you guys.
Yeah. I was shocked when I heard this album. Stunned. All right, so thank you, Gary. What an amazing listen. What an amazing thing to talk about. This was tough. I gotta say, this was a really tough one. If we ever I don't want to share our spreadsheet, but we have a spreadsheet that literally has hundreds of. There's so much shit that we're gonna talk about, and we're at a point now where there's so much I want to talk about, and I'm torn. I'm fucking torn. Okay, so I still, even as I'm speaking, haven't decided, but I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna go for a classic of our crew. I'm gonna do something that we all uniformly have been defined, or at least inspired by, and that is an artist that we have talked about a million times. Our first prototype ever record was on this artist. Before we ever thought we were going to actually do this, we gave it a shot with Kool Keith. It's somewhere in the archives. We talked about the sequel to Dr. Octagon, Moose Bumps. But guess what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about Dr. Octagon Ecologist. Probably the most offensive album we'll have covered so far. If you have not heard Dr. Octagon Ecologist by Dr. Octagon, get over yourself if you're going to be offended and listen to it anyway. Like, just stop being a little B-word and listen.
It is a strong
Being
open.
a wussy, yo.
Strong open. Another one with
It's
a strong open.
A strong open.
Strong.
Cool Keith, Dan the Automator, and I believe Kid Koala on the Wheels of Steel. Oh, no. DJ Qbert. So literally, Dr. Octagon is Cool Keith, Dan the Automator, DJ Qbert, one of the greatest projects in the history of modern music. Go listen, and we're gonna have a ball with this one, right, guys?
Thank you.
It was time. It's fucking time right? How long have we been doing this? We haven't discussed Cool Keith yet, so it's time. Open your mind up, listener. Please, if you haven't heard this album, I implore you, open up your mind and listen to Dr. Octagon. Get ready to hear some things that you're probably not used to hearing. They might be offensive to you. They might be considered sexist, but it's one of the greatest pieces of music ever written. Just get over yourself.
Open your mind with some stirrups.
Yes. Yeah. All right. That being said, yes.
Let's give a shout out to our producer Nate, who I believe is still on his honeymoon and couldn't make it to us today, but hopefully he'll be on the next report with us. But yeah, thank you as usual, and of course to the Red Walrus Fred for all the intro and interlude and outro track that you're probably listening to right now as we fade out. Yep, thank you again.
I love this one. This song's great.
This one's great, right?
You could find his music on Bandcamp, and if you download his music, it's a few bucks. You'd be literally supporting an independent, amazing musician, right? Like, go do that, right?
His logo is either here or here right now.
Oh, it's one of those two.
One of those two.
All right, guys. We really appreciate you guys. One last piece of housekeeping. If you enjoy what we're doing, if you've made it to the end of this episode, we salute you. Thank you. If you found us on YouTube, a like and a subscribe goes a really long way for us. It really helps other people like you find us. It helps other Run the Jewels fans, Cool Keith fans, whatever it may be, find us, and you'd be helping us out if you hit like and subscribe. If you found us on Spotify or however else you listen to podcasts, whatever version of liking, subscribing, reviewing that you feel in your heart that you're willing to do for us, we greatly appreciate that.
Interact with it. Interact with the quantum state. Make a change.
Touch it. Feel it. Be it. All right, guys. The Rap Lizards of the Boom Bap Book Club signing off. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.